The massive warships emerged from the darkness of space like predators stalking their prey. 200 vessels, each the size of a small city, hung in the void beyond Earth's moon. Their hulls gleamed with an alien metal that seemed to absorb light itself. For 2,000 years, the Velcran Empire had conquered world after world with these ships, and never once had they met resistance. Admiral Torvax stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the blue planet below. His scaled hands rested on the command console as he reviewed the tactical display. Earth appeared defenseless. Their satellites were primitive. Their ships barely reached their own moon. They had no energy shields, no plasma weapons, nothing that could threaten the Empire. Another easy conquest, his second officer remarked with a dismissive gesture. They cannot even travel between stars. This will be over before the sun sets on their capital cities. Torvax nodded slowly. In his long career, he had overseen the submission of 47 worlds. Each time the pattern was the same. His fleet arrived. He issued the ultimatum. The primitives below realized they had no choice. Within hours, sometimes minutes, they surrendered. It was efficient. It was predictable. It was boring. Open all communication channels, Torvax commanded. Standard ultimatum. Full broadcast. The message went out across every frequency Earth used for communication. Radio waves, television signals, internet transmissions, military channels. The Velcrans had studied them all during their approach. The ultimatum was simple and brutal. Earth had 72 hours to surrender completely. All military forces must be dismantled. All governments must step down. The planet would become property of the Velcran Empire. Resources would be extracted. The population would serve. There would be no negotiation. No compromise. Only obedience or destruction. Torvax expected panic. He expected desperate pleas. He expected the humans to beg for mercy or try to bargain for more time. That was how it always went. On Earth, in a secure facility deep beneath the city of Seoul, Commander Park Jin-ho received the alien transmission. He was a man in his early 50s, with gray touching his temples and eyes that had seen too many war simulations. Around the conference table sat the planet's most experienced military leaders. Colonel Kim Min-ji, sharp and analytical. General Lee Do-hyun, a veteran of countless strategic operations. Admiral Choi Seo-jin, who had spent 20 years designing Earth's space defense systems. They listened to the Velcran demands in silence. When the message ended, no one spoke for several seconds. "They think we are helpless," Min-ji finally said. Her voice was cold and controlled. "They believe we will simply give up." Jin-ho studied the holographic display showing the alien fleet. 200 ships. It was an impressive force by any standard. The Velcrans had clearly brought enough firepower to destroy Earth's surface several times over. They were not taking chances. Or so they thought. "How long have we been tracking them?" Jin-ho asked. "Since they entered the outer solar system," Admiral Seo-jin replied. 72 hours ago. Our deep space sensors detected their faster-than-light emergence near Pluto's orbit. And our infiltration programs? Captain Han Yuna, who led the Cyber Warfare Division, allowed herself a slight smile. Active since their first communication attempt. Their systems are sophisticated but arrogant. They never considered that a species without space travel might still understand computer networks. We have been inside their command architecture for over 60 hours now. We know their fleet composition, their weapon specifications, their shield frequencies, their communication protocols. Everything. Jin-ho nodded slowly. Then we proceed as planned. Send our response. Sir? Lieutenant Kang Mi-ho looked uncertain. Should we not attempt negotiation first? Perhaps buy more time? They gave us 72 hours, General Do-hyun said quietly. That tells us something important. They believe we need time to panic, to despair, to accept our fate. We will show them they are wrong about us. Jin-ho activated the communication system himself. The message was brief. Just 2 sentences. But those sentences would change everything. You have 48 hours to leave our system. This is your only warning. The transmission went out. On the Velcran flagship, Torvax read the message and began to laugh. His officers joined in. The sound echoed through the bridge. These humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Either way, they would learn the price of defiance. Ignore them, Torvax ordered, still chuckling. Prepare the orbital bombardment. When our deadline expires, we will destroy one of their major cities. That will teach them respect. His officers moved to their stations, confident and relaxed. None of them noticed the small anomalies beginning to appear in their computer systems. Tiny errors. Minor glitches. Nothing that seemed important. Not yet. While the Velcran fleet waited confidently in space, their intelligence officers worked to understand the species they were about to conquer. Junior Analyst Corveth had been assigned what seemed like a simple task. Review Earth's historical records. Learn about human culture. Find weaknesses. It was routine work that usually took a few hours. But Corveth had been working for 2 days straight, and what he found terrified him. He rushed to the command deck where Admiral Torvax was reviewing bombardment targets. "Sir, we need to talk about the humans. Urgently." Torvax barely looked up. "What is it, Analyst?" "I am busy planning our attack. Sir, their history. It is not like anything we have encountered before." Corveth pulled up files on his data tablet, his hands shaking slightly. "The humans have been fighting wars for 10,000 years. Continuous warfare. They have never stopped." Torvax waved dismissively. "All species have conflicts in their early development. We had wars too before we unified and reached the stars." "No, sir. You do not understand." Corveth projected images onto the main display. "These are not primitive tribal conflicts. Look at this. In just the last century they fought 2 global wars. Millions died. Entire cities were destroyed. They invented weapons that could destroy their whole planet and came close to using them multiple times." The bridge grew quiet. Other officers stopped their work to look at the images. Burning cities. Massive explosions. Endless columns of soldiers. Corveth continued, his voice urgent. "They have words for concepts we have never needed. Total war. Scorched earth. Mutually assured destruction. They studied how to kill each other so thoroughly that it became an academic discipline. They have universities where people spend years learning nothing but military strategy. But they lack advanced technology," Torvax argued, though his confidence wavered slightly. "No shields. No energy weapons. No faster-than-light travel. That is what worries me most, sir." Corveth pulled up more data. "They unified only 50 years ago, not through peace treaties or philosophical enlightenment. An asteroid was going to hit their planet. Every nation on Earth, even enemies who hated each other, worked together to destroy it. They succeeded. And then, instead of celebrating and relaxing, they immediately began preparing for the next threat." He showed deployment records. "Since unification they have built thousands of defense platforms. They have militarized their moon. They have weapons hidden throughout their solar system. Every military force on Earth has been training for one scenario: invasion by technologically superior aliens." Torvax stared at the data. The Velcrans had achieved peace among themselves before they even invented gunpowder. War was something from their ancient past, barely remembered. They had conquered other species through overwhelming technological advantage. None of their previous conquests had been warriors. They were explorers, scientists, peaceful civilizations shocked into submission. "Surely their primitive weapons cannot harm our shields," Torvax said, but he sounded less certain now. "I do not know, sir," Corveth admitted. "But they have spent 50 years studying us. Not us specifically, but the idea of us. They assumed someone hostile would eventually find them. They prepared." On Earth, Commander Jinho sat in a briefing room deep underground with his core team. Captain Han Yuna displayed the current status of their infiltration on a large screen. "We control their entire fleet network," she reported with quiet satisfaction. "They still do not know we are inside their systems. Their firewalls are advanced, but they never expected anyone to attack them digitally. They thought only species with space travel could threaten them." Lieutenant Kong Miho showed another display. "All orbital platforms are armed and ready. They have scanned our satellites but dismissed them as primitive observation equipment. They do not realize we have been building weapons platforms disguised as space junk for 30 years. Captain Bei Hyojin, who commanded several orbital stations, added her report. "The enemy still believes our space stations are scientific research facilities. They have no idea each one contains enough firepower to destroy a dozen ships." General Lee Dohayan looked at the timeline. 24 hours until our deadline expires. "Are we ready?" Jinho nodded slowly. "We have spent 50 years preparing for this exact situation. Every war game, every simulation, every training exercise, all of it led to this moment. When humanity unified, we made one decision that defined everything we did afterward. We decided we would never be victims again." "What if they leave?" Colonel Minji asked. "What if they actually take our warning seriously?" "Then we will have peace," Jinho replied. "That would be the best outcome. But if they attack, they will learn something about humans that we learned long ago about ourselves. When we fight, we do not fight to win battles. We fight to win wars. Completely. Permanently. With everything we have. In space, Admiral Torvax finally dismissed Corvetha's concerns. Analyst, you worry too much. Yes, they have a violent history. But history is past. We have superior technology. That is all that matters in warfare. Corveth returned to his station, unconvinced. He looked at his screens showing human military doctrine, their weapons development, their training programs. Everything pointed to one conclusion. Humans did not just prepare for war. They perfected it. He began drafting a report recommending caution, but he knew Torvax would not read it before the attack began. The 48-hour deadline arrived exactly at 6 in the morning, Greenwich Mean Time. Aboard the Velkran flagship, Admiral Torvax sat in his command chair, confident and relaxed. Around him, his officers prepared for what they believed would be a simple demonstration of power. Target their largest orbital station, Torvax commanded. One precise shot. When they see it destroyed, they will understand resistance is pointless. His weapons officer pressed the firing sequence on his console. The plasma cannons should have charged. The targeting system should have locked on. The devastating beam should have launched. Nothing happened. Sir, weapons are not responding, the officer said, confusion in his voice. He pressed the commands again. Still nothing. Engineering, why are my weapons offline? Torvax demanded into his communication device. The chief engineer's panicked voice came back. Admiral, we have a major problem. All ship systems are experiencing failures. The computer network is corrupted. We are locked out of our own controls. Torvax stood up quickly. What do you mean locked out? Run emergency diagnostics. Restore backup systems. We are trying, sir, but nothing is working. It is like something is inside our computers, blocking every command we give. Across the entire Velkran fleet, the same scene repeated on 200 ships. Weapons went offline. Navigation systems froze. Shields flickered. Engineering crews rushed to diagnose problems they did not understand. Then, simultaneously, every display screen on every Velkran ship changed. The normal tactical readouts disappeared. In their place, a message appeared in perfect Velkran text. You were warned. Welcome to human warfare. Lesson 1. We invented cyber warfare before we invented spaceflight. In the underground command center in Seoul, Captain Han Yuna watched her screens with cold satisfaction. Lines of code scrolled past, showing complete control of the alien fleet's network. Total penetration confirmed, she reported. All Velkran ships are under our control. They cannot fire. They cannot maneuver. They cannot even communicate with each other. Commander Jinho stood at the center of the room, surrounded by displays showing the enemy fleet. Phase 2. Execute. Throughout Earth's orbit, thousands of objects that had seemed like harmless debris suddenly came alive. Old satellites rotated, panels sliding away to reveal railgun batteries. Asteroids that had drifted in space for years split open, exposing missile silos. Abandoned space stations powered up, their reactors humming with energy. Captain Bei Hyojin commanded the orbital platform designated Aegis 7. It looked like a simple research station from the outside. Inside, it housed weapons that had been built over 20 years of secret development. All batteries charged and locked on targets, she reported calmly. Firing. The railguns fired first. Massive tungsten rods, each weighing several tons, accelerated to incredible speeds. They crossed the distance to the Velkran fleet in seconds. The alien shields tried to activate, but the human malware had already lowered them. The rods tore through ship hulls like paper. Admiral Torvax watched in horror as 3 of his ships exploded. Shields? Raise the shields, he shouted. They are already raised, sir, his defense officer replied, voice shaking. But something is wrong. They are not working properly. The power levels are fluctuating. Then the nuclear weapons arrived. Not the primitive bombs from Earth's past, but advanced fusion warheads designed specifically to exploit weaknesses in Velkran shield technology. Earth scientists had spent decades analyzing every piece of alien technology they could find, preparing for this moment. The night sky over Earth lit up with distant explosions. Each flash represented a Velkran warship dying in space. Lieutenant Kang Miho coordinated the orbital defense network. Targets destroyed, 15 and counting. Enemy attempting evasive maneuvers, but their navigation is still compromised. They are sitting targets. In the Velkran flagship, chaos reigned. Damage reports flooded in. 40 ships destroyed in the first 15 minutes. Dozens more badly damaged. The crew that had been laughing at Earth's warning just days before now struggled to survive. Torvax stumbled as an explosion rocked his ship. A near miss. His vessel's armor held, but barely. Get communications working. We need to surrender before they destroy us all. His communication officer frantically worked his console. Finally, after several minutes of desperate effort, he managed to open an emergency channel. Sir, I have restored basic communications. But only audio. Everything else is still locked down. Torvax grabbed the microphone. His pride was gone, replaced by pure survival instinct. Human forces, this is Admiral Torvax of the Velcrin Empire. We surrender. Cease fire immediately. We request negotiations. The weapons fire stopped. The sudden silence felt deafening after the chaos of battle. On every Velcrin ship, officers looked at each other in shock. In less than 20 minutes, their mighty fleet had been crippled by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Commander Jinho's face appeared on Torvax's main screen. The human commander looked calm, almost gentle. But his eyes were hard as steel. Ceasefire granted, Admiral. Your fleet will remain in position. You will not attempt to repair your systems or restore your weapons. You have one chance to listen very carefully to what I am about to tell you. Do you understand? Torvax, the conqueror of 47 worlds, the pride of the Velcrin military, nodded weakly. Yes, I understand. We are listening. The emergency meeting happened through a secure quantum communication channel. Admiral Torvax appeared on the screen, his scaled face showing an emotion his species rarely experienced: genuine fear. Across from him sat Commander Park Jinho, Colonel Kim Minji, and General Lee Do-hyun. The three humans looked calm, almost relaxed, which somehow made them more frightening. Torvax struggled to find words. Your technology, we clearly underestimated your capabilities. We did not realize you had advanced so far beyond what our scans showed. No, Colonel Minji interrupted, her voice sharp and cold. You did not underestimate our technology. You underestimated our willingness to use it. There is a very big difference, Admiral. Commander Jinho leaned forward in his chair. Your empire has conquered 847 star systems. We studied your methods while you approached our world. Every species you defeated had something in common. They were peaceful. They built their civilizations on science, art, exploration, and cooperation. When you arrived with overwhelming force, they had no real choice but to surrender. General Lee Do-hyun continued the explanation. We are not like those species. Humanity spent 10,000 years learning one terrible lesson. We learned it through blood and fire and endless suffering. The lesson is this: hope for peace always, but prepare for war constantly. When war comes, you fight with absolutely everything you have. No mercy. No restraint. No half measures. You fight to win because losing means extinction. Torvax felt his throat tighten. What do you want from us? We want you to understand what you have encountered here, Jinho said quietly. While your empire was expanding through intimidation, we were building contingencies. Tell me, Admiral, did you notice the industrial facilities on our moon? Torvax nodded slowly. Those factories have been producing autonomous war machines for 20 years. Self-replicating. Controlled by artificial intelligence. Programmed with a single directive: eliminate any threat to Earth. We have thousands of them hidden throughout this solar system. Your attack activated them. They are moving toward your position right now. Torvax's eyes widened. But we have surrendered. Call them off. We will, Minji assured him. But first you need to understand the full situation. We also analyzed your biology from the genetic material in your first broadcast transmission. Our medical corporations have spent centuries developing cures for diseases. Those same corporations can also create diseases. Targeted biological weapons that would affect only your species while leaving all others completely unharmed. That violates galactic law. Torvax protested weakly. Biological warfare is forbidden by every civilized species. Your law, General Do-hyun replied firmly. We never agreed to follow it. We have our own laws, developed through our own experience. One of our laws is simple: when someone threatens your survival, you eliminate that threat by any means necessary. Jinho's expression softened just slightly. We did not want this war, Admiral. That is the truth. That is why we gave you a warning. We hoped you would be wise enough to leave. But you mistook our mercy for weakness. Every peaceful species you conquered made that same mistake about you. The difference is we are not peaceful. We are survivors. Minji pulled up holographic displays showing human military history. We have studied warfare for thousands of years. Strategy, tactics, logistics, psychology, deception. We have generals who spent their entire lives learning how to defeat enemies with superior technology. We have games that children play for fun that are more strategically complex than your military training programs. Your empire wins through fear and superior weapons, Jinho added. But humans learned long ago that superior weapons do not guarantee victory. Determination does. Creativity does. Willingness to do whatever it takes does. Torvax looked at the three humans and finally understood. The Velcran Empire had grown soft through easy victories. They had forgotten that the most dangerous predator is not the strongest or the fastest. It is the one that refuses to give up. The one that will use every advantage, exploit every weakness, fight with intelligence rather than just strength. We analyzed your war history, Torvax said quietly. The analyst tried to warn me. He said you have never stopped fighting. Even when you unified, you were preparing to fight someone new. That analyst was smart, General Dohayan acknowledged. When humanity finally came together as one species, we did not celebrate by dismantling our weapons. We celebrated by pointing them all in the same direction. Outward. We knew that somewhere in the galaxy there would be others. We hoped they would be friends. We prepared for them to be enemies. What happens now? Torvax asked. Jinho stood and walked closer to the screen. Now you have a choice, Admiral. You can accept our terms and leave. Or you can refuse and we will destroy every ship in your fleet. Your empire will never know what happened here because we have already cut off your communications with your home worlds. Choose carefully. Torvax thought of his crew, his officers, the thousands of Velcran lives depending on his decision. Pride meant nothing now. What are your terms? Simple, Colonel Minji said. Your surviving ships leave immediately. You retreat beyond 50 light-years from our system and never return. You update your galactic databases to mark Earth as forbidden territory. And you send a message to your empire explaining exactly what happened here and why. One more thing, Jinho added. We have seeded your territory with surveillance systems. We cracked your network security in 48 hours, Admiral. We now have access to your empire's entire database. We know where your worlds are, where your fleets patrol, where your leaders live. If you ever violate this agreement, you will not see us coming. General Dohayan leaned forward. We have also transmitted information packets to every conquered species in your empire. They now know you can be defeated. How long before your subject worlds start to rebel? Torvax realized with crushing certainty that this single battle had destroyed more than ships. It had shattered the myth of Velcran invincibility. The foundation of the entire empire was crumbling. I accept your terms, he whispered. The damaged Velcran fleet prepared to depart from Earth's solar system. 53 ships had been completely destroyed. Another 70 were so badly damaged they could barely maintain life support. The remaining vessels limped through space, their proud hulls scarred and broken. Admiral Torvax sat alone in his command chair, staring at the blue planet that had humiliated his empire. His career was over. His reputation destroyed. But at least his crew would live. That was more than he could say for the 3,000 Velcrans who had died in those terrible 15 minutes of combat. He activated his personal communication system and began recording a message for the Empire's high command. His hands shook slightly as he spoke. This is Admiral Torvax, commanding the Earth invasion fleet. Update all galactic records immediately. Sol system, third planet Earth. Dominant species, humans. Military classification, apex predator. Strategic recommendation, do not engage under any circumstances. Diplomatic approach only. Treat as peer civilization, not conquest target. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. The humans defeated us completely. Not through superior technology, but through superior tactics and preparation. They turned our own systems against us. They had planned for this scenario for 50 years. We walked into a trap the moment we entered their space. Torvax took a breath. Any future contact with Earth must be peaceful. They are willing to negotiate, but they will not submit. They cannot be intimidated. They cannot be conquered. This is not an opinion. This is a fact proven by the deaths of 3,000 of our people. He ended the recording and transmitted it through the few communication systems the humans had allowed him to restore. Then he gave the order to begin the long journey home. In the Sol Command Center, the Earth Defense Team watched the alien fleet disappear into the darkness of space. But there was no celebration. No cheering. Just quiet relief mixed with grim determination. All platforms maintain alert status, Commander Jinho ordered. Increase surveillance of all approach vectors. I want to know immediately if anything enters our solar system. Lieutenant Kong Miho looked confused. Sir, we won. Should we not stand down to normal readiness? Colonel Minji shook her head. We won one battle, Lieutenant. But now the entire galaxy knows about us. Some species will respect our strength and leave us alone. Others will see us as a threat that must be eliminated before we grow stronger. Admiral Choi Seo-jin added another concern. Some civilizations will want to use us. They will come offering friendship and alliances, trying to manipulate us into fighting their wars for them. They will see Earth as a weapon they can point at their enemies. General Lee Do-hyun stood and stretched. He looked tired. They all looked tired. Double all defensive preparations. Expand the moon factories. Increase production of autonomous defense systems. Accelerate every weapons research program. And begin training another 1,000,000 soldiers. We also need to prepare for peaceful contact, Jinho said firmly. Not every species out there is hostile. Some will genuinely want friendship. We cannot become so paranoid that we reject potential allies. Captain Han Yuna pulled up a new display. I have drafted a first contact message. It explains who we are and what we want. Should I begin broadcasting? Jinho read through the message carefully. It was honest without being threatening. Friendly without being weak. Send it. Let the galaxy hear our voice. Captain Bei Hyojin activated the transmission arrays. Earth's message began pulsing out into deep space, traveling at the speed of light toward distant stars. The message was translated into hundreds of languages, mathematical codes, and symbolic representations. Humanity seeks peace and cooperation with all intelligent species. We welcome trade, cultural exchange, scientific collaboration, and mutual understanding. We wish to learn from you and share what we have learned. But we will not be conquered. We will not be enslaved. We will not be destroyed. We offer friendship to those who come in peace. To those who come with hostile intent, we offer this warning. Leave us alone. Any species seeking peaceful contact, please respond. We are waiting. The transmission ended. The command center fell silent for a moment. Everyone understood the significance of what had just happened. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy. There was no going back now. General Lee Do-hyun finally spoke. How long before someone responds, do you think? Hard to say, Admiral Seo-jin replied. Space is vast. Our nearest neighbor might be years away, even at light speed. Could be decades before we hear anything. Some will come out of curiosity, Colonel Minji predicted. Some will come seeking allies against their own enemies. Some will come to test us, to see if we are really as dangerous as the Velcrans will claim. Jinho walked to the large window that looked out over the city of Seoul. Millions of people going about their daily lives, unaware of how close they had come to annihilation. Unaware that their world had just changed forever. We need to tell the public what happened, he said quietly. They deserve to know the truth. We are not alone in the universe. And the universe is not necessarily friendly. That will cause panic, Lieutenant Miho warned. Perhaps, Jinho agreed. But humans have never done well with comfortable lies. We face our fears directly. That is how we survived this long. We will tell them the truth and trust them to handle it. He turned back to his team. Prepare a global broadcast for tomorrow. We will explain everything. The Velcran invasion. Our defense. Our preparations. And what comes next. Captain Yuna looked at her commander with respect. What does come next, sir? Jinho smiled slightly, though his eyes remained serious. We do what humans have always done. We adapt. We prepare. We survive. And maybe, if we are very lucky, we find some friends out there among the stars. But whether we find friends or enemies, we will be ready. The galaxy thought Earth was helpless, General Do-hyun said. They thought we were primitives who could be easily conquered. Now they know differently. Now they know that humanity did not reach the stars because we are peaceful explorers. We reached them because we are survivors. And survivors never stop fighting for their future. Outside the command center, the sun rose over Seoul, beginning a new day. Above the atmosphere, defense satellites maintained their watch. On the moon, factories continued building war machines. Throughout the solar system, thousands of autonomous defenders patrolled silently. Earth was ready. Whatever came next, humanity would face it together. The end.